Welcome to Starbound Valor HFY. Subscribe now and dive into daily epic sci-fi adventures where humanity always rises. A strange SOS moved across the dark space like a lost cry, jumping from star to star as if it was running away from something. No one in the galaxy understood where it came from or why it was sent, but one thing was clear: the signal was not moving in a straight path. It was shaking, echoing, and changing direction like it was trying to escape its own sender. The great alien powers watched the signal on their star maps and felt a cold fear. Signals never behaved like this. A misfire like this meant a mistake, or something even worse, a system under attack. The Zothar Council gathered inside their shining crystal hall and talked in panic. Some believed the signal was a trap. Others said it was an old machine waking up from the past. But the oldest council member said the most frightening thing of all: no one should answer this signal. If we go near it, we may never return. While alien fleets prepared to study the signal, something happened that none of them expected. A human warship jumped out of hyperspace and arrived first. No warning. No permission. No delay. Just a sudden, silent arrival like Earth had known the exact moment and place where the signal would appear. The aliens watching from a distance froze. The humans had beaten them by hours, maybe days. But how? Humans were not supposed to be that fast. Humans were not supposed to know. Yet the Earth ship Vigilant Dawn now hovered above the lonely star where the strange signal kept echoing like a broken heartbeat. Inside the human ship, Commander Eric Hale stood at the main deck and watched the signal map. His face was calm, but inside, he felt something sharp and cold. The signal was calling for help, but he could not understand the message. It was full of broken tones, twisted data, and a sound like metal screaming. The crew felt uneasy. They could not say why, but the signal felt wrong. Not like a request. More like a warning. A warning that came too late. As the Vigilant Dawn moved closer to the system, the planet below appeared on the screens. The surface looked calm, too calm. There were cities, roads, towers, and huge skypads for starships, but everything was silent. No lights. No ships. No movement. It was like someone had pressed pause on an entire world. "Where is everyone?" whispered a young officer. No one answered. The silence of the planet was too heavy, like the whole world was holding its breath. The commander ordered a full scan. The scanners moved across the planet again and again. No heat signatures. No life signs. No power signals. No bodies. Nothing. It looked like a dead world, but there was no sign of battle. No ruins. No fire. Just emptiness. Commander Eric felt a strange fear growing stronger. If the planet was under attack, there should be damage. If it was sick, there should be signs. But there was nothing. It was as if millions of lives simply vanished in 1 second. Suddenly, the signal changed. It stopped echoing randomly. Now it was pointing directly at the human ship, as if it noticed them. The sound grew stronger, sharper, almost urgent. The bridge lights flickered. Some screens turned black for a moment. The engineers shouted that something was trying to connect to their systems. Commander Eric ordered all firewalls active. The alien watchers from their distant ships began to panic. They sent warnings across the channel: "Human ship, retreat. Do not connect with the signal. It is not safe." But the humans held their position. They knew they were closer to the truth than anyone else. The commander stared at the growing signal wave and said, "Whatever happened here, it didn't start with war. It started with fear." Suddenly the sensors picked up something new. A faint movement deep under the planet's surface. Not large. Not powerful. But alive. A heartbeat. A single heartbeat. The crew gasped. Someone was still there. Someone survived whatever erased the rest. The commander looked at the planet and whispered, "Prepare a landing team. We are not leaving until we know what happened here." The moment he said this, the signal stopped echoing. The galaxy went silent. The planet stopped moving. The stars around them seemed to freeze. Then, out of nowhere, the signal spoke a single word in a voice that did not belong to any known species, cold, metallic, and afraid. Run. But the humans did not run. They moved toward the danger. They were the first to arrive, and now they would learn why no one else had reached in time. The human ship Vigilant Dawn slowly descended toward the silent planet as a thick tension filled every corner of the bridge. No one spoke, but everyone felt the same pressure inside their chest. The surface looked peaceful from above, but that peace felt fake, like a mask hiding something dark underneath. Cities stood untouched, tall and perfect, yet they felt abandoned by life itself. Roads stretched for miles but carried no vehicles, no footsteps, not even dust moving. It felt as if the world had forgotten how to breathe. When the landing craft touched the ground, the silence became even heavier. The sound of the engines faded, leaving only a soft, empty air. Commander Eric Hale stepped out first. The moment his boots touched the ground, he felt a strange vibration under his feet, like the planet itself was sighing. His team followed, scientists, Marines, and the ship's AI drone Delta IV floating beside them. "Scan everything," Eric ordered. The scientists nodded and activated their handheld scanners. The readings were strange. The buildings were warm, meaning the power had been active very recently, but now everything had shut down at the exact same moment. There were cups on tables, doors open, machines running half-process, and holograms frozen mid-frame. It looked like life was moving normally, and then suddenly ended. Lieutenant Mara touched a wall and felt something cold. "Commander, this place doesn't feel empty. It feels paused." Eric did not like that word. Paused. As if something could unpause at any time. The team moved toward the central city tower, the place where the SOS signal had first appeared on their systems. The tower doors opened automatically as if welcoming them, but the interior was completely dark. Delta IV flashed a blue light and created a small hologram of the inside. "Commander," Delta said in its calm voice, "there are no life signs. But this darkness, it has structure. It is blocking some scans." Darkness with structure. That made no sense. But nothing on this planet made sense. As they walked deeper, Eric felt that vibration again, stronger this time. Something beneath the surface was alive. Something small. Something afraid. The team reached the control room of the tower. Screens were cracked but not broken. A chair was turned as if someone stood up quickly. A half-finished warning message blinked on the main terminal: "It is coming. Do not let it." The rest was missing. The power system had been shut down. Eric turned to the engineer. "Can you restore the message?" "Trying, sir, but something is blocking the system from remembering." "Blocking memory?" That was impossible. Suddenly Delta IV flickered and turned red for a second. "Commander, something just touched my system." The Marines raised their weapons instantly. "Is it attacking you?" "No," Delta said, "it is searching." The team fell silent. Why would something underground search their systems? Eric looked at the floor. The vibration grew again. The scanners began to beep strangely, picking up the same heartbeat signal they detected earlier. "The survivor," Eric said softly, "they must be close." The team followed the signal to the lower levels of the tower. A hidden elevator shaft led deep underground, far below the city. As they descended, the walls changed from metal to stone. The ancient stone looked older than the current civilization, covered in symbols no one recognized. "This is not from the same builders," the scientist whispered. "Someone else was here long before this species lived here." The elevator stopped abruptly, and a cold wind rushed inside, even though this deep there should be no wind. Lights flickered on, revealing a large chamber with thick doors covered in claw marks. Something had tried to break in. Or break out. The heartbeat signal was stronger now, echoing through the metal like a drum. The team opened the heavy door and froze. Inside the small bunker was a young alien child, sitting on the ground with knees pulled to their chest. Their eyes were wide, full of fear and exhaustion. They looked up and gasped softly when they saw humans. Commander Eric approached slowly, lowering his weapon. "It's okay. We're here to help." The child shook their head violently. "No, you should not be here. You should have stayed away." Their voice trembled as if every word hurt. Eric knelt beside them. "What happened here? Where is everyone?" The child swallowed hard. It wasn't an attack. It wasn't a sickness. It was the machine. The team exchanged looks. "What machine?" The child lifted a shaking hand and pointed upward, toward the surface. "The machine under the city." It woke up. Before they could finish, the ground trembled violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. Metal groaned. The entire chamber shook like something enormous was moving above them. The child screamed and covered their ears. "It found you." The scanners went wild, full of alarms. Something massive had come online beneath the planet's crust. Eric grabbed the child and lifted them up. "Everyone back to the surface. Now." As they ran toward the elevator, the heartbeat signal disappeared, replaced by something deeper, louder. A mechanical pulse. The SOS signal above the planet restarted on its own, blasting through every channel again. But this time, it carried a new message. A message that froze every human in place. "You should not have come." And the planet began to wake. The elevator shot upward with a loud metallic roar as Commander Eric held the frightened alien child close to his chest. The entire shaft shook like something enormous was pushing against the walls from below. Dust rained down, and sparks flickered from broken wires, turning the inside of the elevator into a shower of red and white flashes. No one spoke. No one even breathed too loudly. The fear in the child's eyes said enough. Whatever was waking beneath the surface was powerful, ancient, and dangerous. When the elevator finally reached the top level of the tower, the doors opened to a dark hallway. The lights flickered weakly as if the power system was struggling to stay alive. Eric motioned for silence and the team stepped out with weapons raised. A deep rhythmic vibration echoed through the floor, steady and powerful like the heartbeat of a giant. The child trembled and whispered, "It is awake, it can hear movement, we must be quiet," but the moment they stepped forward, a loud metallic cry rang through the entire building. Something had sensed them. Something massive. The walls trembled with the sound, and every scanner beeped in alarm as strange waves of energy pulsed through the structure. The team hurried toward the exit. Outside, the sky was no longer calm. Thin streaks of red light flashed above the clouds, spreading like cracks across glass. It looked as though the atmosphere itself was splitting. "What is that?" Lieutenant Morrow whispered. The child answered in a shaking voice, "It is looking for you." It knows someone answered the signal. The team rushed through the dead streets, passing empty transport vehicles and silent skypads. Every step felt heavier as the vibration beneath the ground grew stronger, like something was rising upward from deep within the planet. Delta 4 floated ahead, scanning constantly, its blue light flickering. "Commander," the drone said, "the ground is destabilizing. Something is pushing upward with extreme force." Eric tightened his grip on the child. "What is this machine? Who built it?" The child swallowed, breathing fast. "My people did not build it. It is older than our history. My ancestors found it buried beneath this world. It was sleeping for thousands of years." Mara frowned. "Then why did it wake now? And why did it erase everyone?" The child closed their eyes as if remembering something painful. "It woke because of a mistake. We tried to study it, to speak with it, but when we activated a small part of it, something inside changed. Something broke." The team reached the center plaza. The ground cracked beneath them, glowing with strange blue lines that spread like branches of a tree. The plaza's tiles twisted as if rising and falling with breath. The child pointed toward the center. That is where the machine is buried. It took everyone. It can absorb life. It does not destroy. It takes. A sudden blast of energy shot upward from the plaza, forming a swirling column of light. Everyone covered their eyes as the beam cut through the sky. The shockwave threw the humans backward. Eric shielded the child as they rolled across the ground. The beam faded after a few seconds, revealing a giant metal shape pushing upward through the broken ground. A huge circular structure, taller than the tallest tower, slowly rose into view. Massive rings rotated around it, spinning faster and faster. Strange alien symbols glowed across its surface. It looked alive. Alive and angry. Delta 4 beeped rapidly. "Commander, I am detecting a code pattern being broadcast from the structure. It is searching for us, and it has identified the human ship." Eric's eyes widened. "It knows about the Vigilant Dawn?" "Yes," Delta said. "And it is scanning for a match to the child's genetic signature." The child gasped. "It wants me. I am the only one left. It needs the last of my people to complete something." Before they could ask what that meant, the machine released a loud pulse of energy. The shockwave spread in all directions. The humans fell again. Buildings cracked. Windows shattered. The ground split apart. From the cracks, small metallic shapes began to crawl out, sharp, spider-like drones made from black metal. Their eyes glowed bright red as they clicked and turned toward the humans. "Drones!" Mara shouted. The Marines opened fire. Sparks flew as bullets hit the small machines, some exploding into pieces, others climbing broken walls like insects. Eric carried the child and ran toward the landing craft. "Go! Move!" The team sprinted as more drones poured out of the ground. Some leaped through the air. One landed on a Marine's back, digging metal claws into his armor. Eric fired his sidearm and destroyed it. The machine roared again, this time with a voice so deep and mechanical it shook the entire city. A voice filled with anger and confusion. "Return, return, return," Delta 4 froze mid-air. "Commander, it is targeting me. It believes I am part of its system." Sparks burst from Delta's shell as the machine tried to connect to it. Eric shouted, "Override. Shut down your link." But Delta was already shaking violently. The child cried out, "It is calling everything metal. It wants to rebuild itself." With one last desperate push, the team reached the landing craft. Drones leaped at them, but Mara activated the craft's defensive shields, burning them away in bright flashes. As the craft lifted off the ground, the giant machine fully emerged from the planet. Its ring spun like a storm. Its lights glowed brighter. And the SOS signal returned in a broken, desperate voice. "Help me, or run." Commander Eric stared at the rising monster and whispered, "We're not running." The machine turned its glowing eye toward the sky, locked onto the humans, and began to rise. The landing craft shot upward through the broken sky as shockwaves rippled across the silent planet. Commander Eric Hale gripped the seat as alarms filled the cabin, each one screaming a different warning. The giant machine that had risen from beneath the city now towered like a metal mountain, its spinning rings tearing through clouds and throwing spirals of dust into the air. The child sat strapped beside Eric, trembling violently. Their eyes were locked on the rising structure below as if staring at a nightmare that had come to life. "It was never meant to wake like this," the child whispered, voice almost too soft to hear. "It was meant to sleep. Forever." The landing craft pierced through the last layer of cloud, revealing the Vigilant Dawn hovering above with its engines burning bright. But even from orbit, the machine was visible, glowing like a star on the surface, sending beams of strange light into space. As soon as the landing craft docked, the crew rushed the team inside. The ship's AI voice echoed through the halls. "Warning, unknown energy signature increasing. Shield stability dropping." Eric carried the child through the corridor as the crew gathered around, whispering in shock. No one had seen anything like the mechanical titan rising from the planet. The moment they reached the bridge, the main screen showed the machine more clearly. What had risen was only part of it. The rings continued rotating, but beneath them lay a deeper, hidden structure still climbing upward from underground, like a tower that had no end. Lieutenant Mara pointed at the readings. "Commander, look at this. The machine is scanning us. Not just the ship, but all human technology." The AI drone Delta 4 hovered near the ceiling, its normally blue light now flickering yellow. "Commander, I am still detecting a connection attempt from the machine. It thinks I am one of its lost units." Eric looked at the symbol patterns glowing across the machine's rings. They shifted and rearranged, moving like living script. "What does it want?" Delta paused. "Unknown. But the machine has recognized the human ship as a threat." The child stepped toward the main screen, voice shaking. "It is not alive like you think. It is not a robot. It is a keeper. A guardian. My ancestors called it the Watcher of Roots." Eric turned to them. "A guardian of what?" Before the child could answer, the machine fired a beam of energy into the sky. The beam hit the Vigilant Dawn's shields, shaking the entire ship. Officers fell from their stations. Sparks burst from the ceiling. "Shields at 50%, someone shouted. "Weapon signature increasing. Second strike incoming." Mara yelled. "Commander, if we don't move now, we're done." But Eric didn't order a retreat. He stared at the machine's glowing core, a huge sphere surrounded by rotating rings. Something about it felt wrong. It wasn't aiming at them out of anger. It was aiming at them out of confusion. "It doesn't know who we are," Eric said. "It sees us as something else." Another beam charged, growing brighter. The ship AI warned, "Impact in 5 seconds." Mara grabbed Eric's arm. "We have to run." Eric shook his head. "No. If we flee, it will destroy us. But if we let it fully wake, it will destroy everything." The child's voice broke through the noise. "Commander, I know what it thinks you are." All eyes turned to the small survivor. When the machine woke, it did not see us as living beings. It saw only energy patterns. Movement patterns. Signals. The child pointed at Delta 4. "Your drone, your ship, your engines, they match the old enemy's code." The bridge fell silent. Eric whispered, "Old enemy?" The child nodded. "Long ago, something attacked my ancestors. Something that used machines. The Watcher was built to stop it. But the enemy left behind a signal. A corrupt signal. When we tried to activate the Watcher, the enemy's old code woke up inside it." Delta's light flickered sharply. "Commander, that explains the connection attempts. It believes I am part of the ancient enemy machine network." Suddenly, the second energy beam fired. The ship lurched violently. Alarms blared. "Shields at 25%. Hull damage increasing." Eric made a decision. "We need to get closer." Mara stared at him. "Closer? Are you insane? If we can reach the scanner rings, we might break the corrupted code. If we don't, it will keep firing until we're gone." The ship AI confirmed, "Probability of survival if we remain in orbit, 0. Eric ordered the engines to full power. The ship dove downward, racing toward the spinning rings. The machine reacted instantly. Smaller beams shot upward like spears, missing the ship by meters. The Vigilant Dawn shook like a ship caught in a storm. "Commander," the child cried. "If you go too close, it will try to take your ship into its core. That is what happened to my people." "I know," Eric said. "But we're not your people." Delta chimed in. "Commander, the core is opening." The screen zoomed in on the machine. The rings split apart, revealing a deep, glowing chasm. Like a mechanical mouth. "It wants to swallow us," Mara whispered. Eric's voice was steady. "No. It wants to absorb our technology and rebuild itself. We can't let that happen." The ship dove lower, slipping between two massive rings. The machine roared. The entire planet trembled. And in the center of the glowing core, something shifted, something that looked like an enormous mechanical heart starting to beat. The Watcher was fully awake. And it was looking at the humans. The vigilant Dawn flew dangerously close to the spinning rings of the awakened machine, its hull groaning under the pressure of impossible energy waves. Inside the bridge, every officer held their breath as the ship passed through a curtain of blue light that shimmered like liquid metal. The moment the ship crossed that boundary, the machine reacted violently. A thunderous shockwave slammed into the vessel, tilting it sideways. Sparks burst from consoles, and the lights flickered. Crew members clung to their stations while the child grabbed the nearest railing, eyes wide with terror. "It knows you are here," the child cried. "You are inside its hunting zone." Commander Eric steadied himself. "We need to weaken its scan core. If we break the corrupted code, maybe it will stop seeing us as the enemy." But the ship AI interrupted. "Warning, the machine is copying our energy signature." Eric froze. "Copying?" Delta 4 floated forward, its light turning deep red. "Commander, it is duplicating our engine pattern. It is rewriting itself to match human technology." The horror settled over the crew. If the ancient Watcher learned human engine patterns, it could create weapons based on human systems. It could learn human tactics. It could turn the entire galaxy against them. Mara stared at the readings. "Commander, if this machine copies enough data, it will target Earth next." Before Eric could respond, the machine released a new pulse. This one was sharper, faster, and more precise. The pulse hit the vigilant Dawn directly in the engine section. A loud explosion shook the ship as the room filled with smoke. Officers shouted reports. "Engine 3 offline. Cooling system failing. Hull breach sealed but unstable." The vibration from the machine grew stronger, like a heartbeat syncing with the ship. The child pressed their hands over their ears. "It is trying to merge with you. It thinks you are part of its system, part of the old enemy." Delta 4 flickered again. "Commander, I am receiving direct commands from the machine. It is trying to override my core functions." Eric grabbed the drone, holding it still. "Fight it, Delta." "Trying, but the code is too advanced. It knows my design. It knows how I think." The ship lurched again as a mechanical roar echoed from the machine. The rings accelerated, spinning so fast they blurred into thin disks of light. The Watcher's core split open further, revealing a deep chamber filled with swirling blue energy. "It's preparing something," Mara said. "I don't know what, but it's big." Eric's mind raced. If the machine wanted to merge with human technology, it needed a complete blueprint. Their ship was giving it that blueprint every second. He turned toward the console. "Prepare to shut down every human system on the ship." The crew stared at him in shock. "Commander, if we do that, we will fall." "If we don't," Eric said, "that thing will learn everything it needs to destroy humanity." The AI voice warned, "Disabling systems will leave the ship defenseless." Eric nodded. "We won't be defenseless. We'll be invisible." Delta 4's light flickered weakly. "Commander, the machine is sending a capture signal. It intends to pull us into its core." A deep metallic groan echoed across space as massive mechanical arms unfolded from the machine's rings. They reached outward like claws, trying to grab the vigilant Dawn. Mara shouted, "It's trying to reel us in." The ship swerved violently as Eric commanded evasive maneuvers. The claws snapped through empty space, barely missing them. Another arm swung forward, scraping the shields and sending a shower of sparks through the bridge. The child screamed as the machine roared again, a sound that rattled metal and bones alike. Eric turned to the child. "You said it was corrupted. Is there a way to stop it?" The child nodded slowly. "The corruption broke its mind. It thinks everything new is the enemy. But if we access its original code, we might calm it." "Where is the original code stored?" The child pointed downward toward the core. Inside, in the heart chamber. Delta beeped rapidly. Commander, that chamber is opening. The main screen zoomed in. The heart-like structure inside the machine pulsed with thick blue lines of energy. Each pulse shook the planet and sent ripples through the clouds. Suddenly, dozens of small drones erupted from the rings, flying straight toward the ship like metal insects. Incoming swarm, a Marine shouted. The ship's turrets opened fire, blasting drones into fragments. But more replaced them instantly. The swarm surrounded the ship, attaching to the hull and drilling with sharp legs. The engineers panicked. They're trying to break into the ship. Eric faced the child. If we reach the core, can you stop it? The child hesitated, then nodded. Yes, but only with your help. Eric took a deep breath. Then we go in. Mara stared at him like he'd lost his mind. Go inside that thing? Commander, that's suicide. It's suicide if we don't, Eric replied. He turned to the helm. Bring us closer to the core. Prepare the assault team. The ship dove lower. The drones screeched and swarmed. The rings spun faster. The Watcher's entire body glowed with blinding blue light. And as the humans prepared to enter the heart of the ancient machine, a single message echoed across every screen in a cold metallic whisper. Return, return, return. Eric stared at the glowing abyss and whispered back, we're coming. The human ship Pathfinder moved deeper into the shadowed region beyond the shattered moon, and inside the command deck, the crew felt a strange pressure in the air as if the space itself was watching them. But Captain Arya forced her voice to stay steady as she ordered full scans, knowing the truth was close, very close, and whatever they found next would change everything about the misfired signal that had brought them here. The screen lit up with strange waves, not natural, not cosmic, but engineered, controlled, and Commander Reyes leaned closer, his eyes narrowing as he whispered that these waves were not from the ruined colony below but from something far bigger hiding behind the moon's debris, something large enough to bend light and sound like a curtain. And suddenly the ship jolted as if it had brushed against a wall they could not see. The sensors cracked with static, the lights flickered, and then everything stabilized, but the crew stared at the main screen where a giant outline slowly appeared, lines glowing faint blue, revealing the shape of a massive ship unlike anything recorded in human databases, a ship so old that its metal looked like stone, and so advanced that even the Pathfinder's AI struggled to identify its material, its purpose, or its origin. Arya felt her heartbeat slow as if her body was warning her to run, but she stayed firm, leaning forward, her voice quiet as she told Reyes to magnify the central section, and when he did, the crew gasped together because carved along the hull were ancient markings, symbols that matched exactly the faint shapes found on the colony ruins they had scanned earlier, meaning whoever built this ship was the same force that wiped out the colony without leaving a single body behind. The realization hit the crew like cold water, and the fear in the room grew heavier when the giant ship released a pulse of energy that washed over them with a metallic ring. And suddenly the Pathfinder's systems began shutting down one by one, first the external lights, then shields, then propulsion, until they drifted powerless in the shadow of the ancient vessel. The AI flickered and struggled but finally managed to speak, its usually calm voice shaken as it explained that the energy pulse was not meant to attack them but to scan them, to study them, maybe even identify them, and this was the most terrifying part, the ancient ship now knew exactly who they were. Arya ordered emergency backup systems, and faint lights returned, but still no engines, meaning they were trapped, floating like prey in front of a silent predator, and then something even stranger happened. The giant ship sent a signal. It was not a message in language or voice, but a direct burst of data into the Pathfinder's AI, and screens filled with symbols none of them could recognize until the AI began translating the data into simple lines. The lines formed maps, star maps, showing dozens of colonies across multiple regions of space, all destroyed in the same pattern, silent, empty, clean, with no bodies, no struggle, no warning, only ruins left behind, and every map ended the same way, with one final star marked in red, Earth. Arya felt the blood drain from her face as she whispered that the ancient ship was showing them the order of destruction, a path the unknown enemy had followed for centuries, and now that path was heading toward humanity. Reyes clenched his fists and asked the question none of them wanted to ask. Was this ancient ship the enemy, or was this ship running away from something even worse? The air thickened when the giant vessel emitted another pulse, this one softer, almost like a heartbeat, and then a hatch on its side opened slowly, revealing a dark tunnel leading inward as if inviting the humans inside. The crew exchanged looks of fear and confusion, each person knowing that no human had ever entered a ship this old, this powerful, or this silent. And Arya understood that they had reached a point where turning back was no longer possible, because if Earth was truly next on the destruction map, they needed to know everything about this threat, even if it meant walking into the unknown. She took a deep breath and gave the order to launch a small team to board the ancient vessel, and Reyes volunteered first, followed by 2 engineers and a medic, all nervous but ready because this was their duty. As the boarding shuttle detached and drifted toward the open hatch, the giant ship seemed to pulse again, almost like it was watching, waiting, and maybe even testing them, and back on the Pathfinder, Arya stood silent, knowing that the fate of humanity might now depend on what her team found inside that ancient, sleeping monster hidden behind the moon. The boarding shuttle drifted into the open tunnel of the ancient ship, and as Reyes and his small team stepped inside, they felt the temperature drop instantly, as if the air itself had been untouched for thousands of years, and the walls around them were smooth like polished stone yet pulsed faintly with blue light, almost like veins carrying energy through a living creature. Reyes moved slowly, flashlight pointed ahead, his breath controlled, because every instinct in his body screamed that they should not be here, but he kept going because the fate of Earth might depend on what they found. The engineers scanned the walls and whispered in shock because the material was not metal, not crystal, and not any compound known to humans. It reacted to touch by sending tiny glowing ripples outward, as if waking up from a deep sleep. The tunnel led them to a massive chamber, circular and silent, with hundreds of tall structures rising like pillars, each one covered in symbols that matched the colony ruins. And the medic pointed out something terrifying. Some of the symbols were fresh, glowing brighter than others, which meant someone, or something, had been here recently. Reyes approached the nearest pillar and saw a strange translucent layer on its surface, almost like a cocoon, and when he touched it lightly, the cocoon flashed and displayed a holographic image of a world burning in silence. Cities empty, skies dark, the same pattern of destruction shown in the star maps earlier, and then the image shifted to a new world, Earth, highlighted in red. His jaw tightened as he whispered that this ship was not just showing destruction, it was recording it. This was a tracker, a watcher, a silent witness to countless civilizations dying without a single shot being fired, and the horror of that realization made the entire team freeze. Suddenly, the chamber lights brightened slightly, and a soft humming began, vibrating through the floor and walls as if something enormous had awakened deeper inside the ship. Back on the Pathfinder, Captain Arya watched the reading spike and ordered communication with Reyes, but all she received was static, then a distorted whisper that sounded like Reyes saying they were not alone. She tried again, but the line cut out completely, making her heart pound because she feared the worst. Inside the chamber, Reyes raised his weapon and signaled his team to form a defensive circle, though deep down he knew guns would do nothing against whatever built this ship. The humming grew stronger, and the pillars around them began shifting, rotating slowly as if aligning themselves for something, and then a large circular door at the far end of the chamber slid open, releasing a gust of cold air and a dim white glow. Reyes swallowed hard and stepped forward, knowing this was likely the core of the ship. As they entered the new room, they saw a massive sphere floating above the floor, rotating slowly, covered with millions of tiny lights that flickered like stars, and the engineer gasped because the lights were not random. They formed galaxies, planets, routes, paths, entire civilizations mapped in perfect detail, meaning the sphere was a historical record of the galaxy. But something else made their blood run cold. One of the galaxy sectors was pulsing red, and inside that red zone, dozens of stars were marked as extinguished, their light gone, their civilizations erased, and Earth was among them, pulsing brighter than the rest. Before Reyes could process this, the sphere emitted a beam of light that wrapped around him like a scanner, lifting him slightly off the ground, and he felt images entering his mind, Earth's cities, Earth's people, Earth's history, all being read, copied, stored. The light released him gently, but he dropped to one knee, shaking, telling his team that the ship now knew everything about humanity, and that meant the threat it was warning about was coming soon. The sphere changed colors, shifting from blue to a violent orange, and then projected a final terrifying image, a shadow, a dark shape with long tendrils stretching across stars like claws, consuming entire worlds without leaving debris, bodies, or sound, just like the colony they had found earlier. This was the enemy. This was the thing the ancient ship had been running from. And now it was heading toward Earth. Suddenly the ship shook violently as if reacting to the image, and the walls began closing slowly, sealing exits, making the chamber feel alive and angry. Reyes ordered the team to retreat, but the path they came from began collapsing, forcing them to run through an unknown passage that opened on their left as if the ship itself was guiding them. Behind them, the sphere dimmed, its lights fading as if it had used the last of its power to show them the truth. The team ran until they reached another chamber, this one smaller, with a platform in the center and strange chairs around it. As they stepped onto the platform, the ancient ship suddenly communicated with the Pathfinder, sending a surge of energy that restored its systems for a moment. Arya received a single clear message from the ship, not in words but in an image, the dark tendril monster approaching. And then the transmission cut. Inside the ship, the platform activated, surrounding Reyes's team with blue light, and the floor beneath them opened, revealing a long drop straight into a glowing chamber below. Reyes felt his stomach twist as he shouted for everyone to brace themselves, but there was no time, no escape. The ancient ship had chosen their path, and now they were falling into its deepest secret. Reyes and his team fell into the glowing chamber below, but instead of crashing, they landed softly as if the air itself had become a cushion, and when they stood up, they realized the entire room was filled with floating particles of light, drifting like slow-moving stars that reacted to every breath they took, making the atmosphere feel alive and aware. The chamber was enormous, round, and strangely warm compared to the cold passage above, and in the center stood a tall structure shaped like a crystal tower, glowing with deep blue energy that pulsed gently like a heartbeat. Reyes looked around, confused, because unlike the rest of the ancient ship, this place felt newer, brighter, as if it had been kept safe for a specific purpose, and the medic whispered that maybe this room was the core, the mind, the memory, or even the soul of the alien vessel. As they approached the crystal tower, the floating particles drifted toward them, wrapping around their bodies like soft ribbons of light, showing quick flashes, ruined cities, vanished species, burning skies, and dark shadows sweeping across planets. The images were so fast that Reyes staggered, clutching his head, realizing that the tower was trying to communicate directly with them, sending warnings, history, pain, and desperation all at once. The engineer pointed to the base of the tower where small circular symbols glowed in a pattern, and when Reyes touched one, the entire room brightened, the particles froze in place, and a massive holographic figure appeared above them. It was tall, thin, and cloaked in light, but its face was hidden behind a mask that resembled smooth stone with glowing eyes. The figure spoke without sound, using images and feelings, and the team understood instantly. It was the last guardian of this ancient ship, the final intelligence left behind after its species was wiped out by the same dark force now moving toward Earth. The hologram showed their civilization, once peaceful, advanced, spanning thousands of worlds, now burning in silence as the shadow creature consumed everything, absorbing cities, feeding on life itself, leaving no bodies because it did not kill through violence but through draining energy directly from living beings until nothing remained. It fed on life like a predator feeds on light. The Guardian explained through visions that the misfired signal the humans received was not a mistake but a trap set by the shadow creature to lure new life into dark space. But the ancient ship intercepted the signal and redirected it, hoping someone strong enough, someone desperate enough, would come. Reyes felt his chest tighten when he realized that humanity was chosen because Earth was young, fast-growing, unpredictable, and still capable of surprising the galaxy. The Guardian showed a final set of images, the ancient ship fleeing through stars, hiding behind moons, collecting data on the monster, preparing warnings, waiting for a species brave enough to enter the ship and see its truth. Then the hologram dimmed, and the crystal tower pulsed faster, sending a wave of light across the chamber that made the walls tremble. The engineer quickly scanned the tower and shouted that it was overloading, meaning the ship itself was dying, losing power after centuries of drifting through space. Reyes clenched his fists, knowing that whatever they needed to learn must be taken now. Suddenly the chamber floor shifted, and a hidden platform rose from the ground carrying a small object, a silver cube covered in moving patterns. The Guardian pointed to it, and through the last fading vision, the team understood the cube held everything. All knowledge, all data, all warnings, and the only strategy ever used to slow down the shadow creature. Without it, humanity would have no chance. Reyes grabbed the cube, feeling it vibrate as if alive, and the lights in the chamber began to dim rapidly. The floating particles dissolved like dust, the walls cracked with sparks, and the ship groaned with ancient pain as power drained away. The entire vessel was collapsing. Reyes shouted for the team to move, and they ran toward a rising passageway that opened behind them, clearly controlled by the final energy of the dying Guardian. Alarms echoed through the ship, deep metallic roars shaking the entire structure like a wounded beast, and the glowing tower began to crumble, sending bright shards across the chamber. The team ran through the new passage, stumbling as the ship tilted sharply, and Reyes yelled updates to Captain Arya through his communicator, but only fragments reached her. Ship dying. We have the key. Prepare extraction. On the Pathfinder, Arya ordered the engines to full power and positioned the ship closer to the moon's shadow, praying her crew would return in time. Inside the ancient vessel, Reyes and the others burst through a final door that opened into a hangar-like space, half-collapsed and filled with smoke-like energy. Their shuttle was still anchored there, trembling as debris fell around it. They sprinted toward it, diving inside as the hangar walls cracked, and Reyes shouted for immediate takeoff, clutching the silver cube tightly against his chest. The shuttle engines roared, lifting them off just as the hangar collapsed behind them, and the ancient ship began folding inward, its massive hull breaking apart slowly but silently, like a great titan taking its final breath. As they escaped through the collapsing corridor of light, Reyes looked back and whispered a silent promise, to the Guardian, to the lost civilizations, and to Earth, that humanity would not fall the same way. They would fight. They would survive. And they would not run from the darkness approaching. The shuttle emerged from the collapsing ancient vessel just as its final light flickered and went dark, leaving Reyes and his team floating in the quiet shadow of the broken moon, and the silver cube in his hands hummed faintly, vibrating with a strange energy as if alive, holding within it the knowledge of countless worlds destroyed and the warning of a greater threat approaching. Captain Arya watched the reading spike, her heart pounding as she realized the ancient ship had not been the enemy but a guardian. And all this time the true enemy had been the shadow creature moving silently through the galaxy, consuming everything in its path without warning. Reyes opened the cube, and holographic images spilled into the shuttle's cabin, showing the patterns of destruction, the methods of the shadow creature, its strength, and its weaknesses. It was fast, intelligent, and relentless, feeding on life energy rather than matter, leaving no corpses, no fires, no evidence, only emptiness and silence, and the cube also revealed a terrifying fact. The creature was aware of them now, aware that humans had seen the truth, and that knowledge made humanity the next target. The child, still shaking, looked at the images with wide eyes. "It is coming for Earth," they whispered. "It senses life. It senses hope. It will not stop." Arya tightened her hands on the console. "Then we prepare. We warn everyone. We use what we have learned. Humanity cannot be last." The team worked in silence, plotting the route back to Earth, knowing that the shadow creature traveled faster than conventional ships, able to jump across systems undetected, and the cube revealed the one way to slow it down. The creature relied on patterns, on predictable energy flows, and if humanity could disrupt those patterns, even slightly, it might buy time, enough to gather allies, enough to defend the planet. Delta 4 chimed in with urgency. "Commander, the cube's data shows multiple shockwaves in deep space. The creature has left traces. It is moving toward the system in straight lines, optimizing destruction. It will reach Earth in less than 2 weeks if we do not act immediately." Arya's jaw tightened. "Then we do not waste a second. Set course for Earth at maximum speed. Activate stealth protocols. Warn the fleets. Humanity will meet it head-on if we have to." Reyes looked at the child. "You saw what it did to your people. Can you help us understand its limits?" The child nodded slowly, still pale, whispering that the creature was a predator of intelligence, a force that could read energy patterns and anticipate attacks, but it was also vulnerable in the way it adapted. Too much change could confuse it, slow it down, make it hesitate, and that hesitation was humanity's only chance. As the shuttle jumped into hyperspace, the cube's holograms revealed the creature's path, dozens of systems already emptied, millions of lives absorbed silently. And Reyes realized that the galaxy itself was trembling, fearing the approach of a force that could not be fought with weapons alone. Arya turned to the crew. "We are not just going to warn Earth. We will fight. We will prepare. We will survive. And we will make sure nothing like this ever happens again." The child's eyes shone with tears, but also determination. "I will help you. I will guide you to what my ancestors left behind. We have to act fast. We cannot waste another moment." Delta 4 scanned the hyperspace lanes, its light flickering. "Commander, the energy signatures are changing. The creature has noticed the cube's activation. It is altering its path. It knows we are aware." A chill ran through everyone aboard the shuttle as the reality set in. They were being hunted, watched, studied, and the creature would adapt to every move they made. Arya gripped the console, speaking with calm authority. "Then we act faster than it expects. We stay unpredictable. We use the cube, the technology we recovered, and everything humanity has learned. We are the first line. If we falter, everything falls." The child guided Reyes to a hidden feature within the cube, a set of coordinates, ancient star systems filled with long-forgotten defenses left by civilizations destroyed by the creature, places where technology had survived, traps waiting to be triggered. "We can use these," the child said. "We can slow it down. But it will take everything we have." The shuttle exited hyperspace into a quiet system, empty stars stretching in all directions, and the crew knew this calm would not last. The cube pulsed violently, a warning, a heartbeat of the galaxy itself, signaling that the enemy was closer than ever. Arya turned to the entire crew. "Prepare for battle. Humanity meets the shadow not with fear, but with fire and intelligence. We are not alone. We have what others do not. And we will survive. We will strike first, and we will show it that humans do not wait to die." Outside the viewport, stars streaked past as they moved at maximum speed, carrying not just a shuttle, a crew, or a child, but the hope of Earth, the knowledge of ancient civilizations, and the first strike against a darkness older and stronger than anything the galaxy had seen. And as the shadow creature moved silently through space, unaware of the humans preparing to face it, the galaxy held its breath, waiting for the inevitable clash that would decide the fate of every living world. The Pathfinder emerged from hyperspace just beyond the outer edge of Earth's system, the silver cube pulsing in Reyes' hands like a living heartbeat as Captain Arya surveyed the dark void ahead where nothing should have been, but she knew better. The shadow creature was already there, hiding among the stars, stretching its tendrils across empty space like invisible fingers, waiting to strike, and the human crew felt the weight of every civilization that had fallen before them pressing down, yet they did not falter because Earth depended on them, and humanity had never fled danger before. They struck, and they would strike now. The child stood beside Reyes, trembling but determined, pointing toward the path the creature had traced through space, a line of devastation so precise it was almost beautiful in its terror, and for the first time, the crew understood what they were facing, not a ship, not a being, but a force, a predator of life itself that had grown intelligent through every world it consumed, yet even the creature had never met humans before, never faced a species unpredictable, relentless, and clever enough to fight against impossible odds. Arya ordered all systems online, shields at maximum, weapons charged, and the Pathfinder moved forward like a predator itself, silent and precise, weaving through the darkness while the cube hummed louder, guiding them toward the creature's weak points, the ancient defenses the child's ancestors had left behind scattered across hidden star systems. Delta 4 projected a hologram showing the creature's massive form, stretching millions of kilometers in space, its tendrils coiling around dead planets, absorbing energy, and yet, for all its size and power, it had one flaw: it relied on patterns, predictable flows, and the humans had learned to disrupt those flows. Arya's voice rang out, calm and firm. We strike together, we strike smart, and we strike first. Humanity does not wait. Humanity does not bow. We are the first and last line, and we will not fail. The shuttle and Pathfinder split into smaller teams, each carrying the cube's guidance, entering the zones where the creature had consumed planets, planting ancient energy disruptors, small but powerful devices designed to scramble its perception, break its pattern, and force hesitation. As the humans moved, the shadow creature reacted, tendrils lashing out into space, sensing the intrusion, and a low, deep roar vibrated through every ship in the fleet, shaking hulls, rattling consoles, and sending crews to their knees, yet humanity did not retreat. They advanced, calculating, coordinated, combining strategy and bravery in ways no other species could, because humans understood chaos, thrived in chaos, and the creature could not predict them. The child guided them to the central nerve of the creature, a hidden core of energy that pulsed like a dying star, and as Reyes approached, he felt the cube vibrating violently, feeding him visions of countless civilizations, of life being drained, and of a path to victory that required one final risk, synchronization, a full merge of the cube's power with the human ship's, creating a field of energy strong enough to disrupt the creature's core. Arya gave the order, and every human ship linked to the cube's energy, a network of minds and machines, daring to do what no species had done before, face the predator directly and force it to confront the unpredictable. The creature reacted instantly, a massive pulse of destructive energy that tore through empty space, destroying smaller ships that had not synchronized, yet the humans who held steady began to emit a counterwave, a pattern of light and energy that clashed with the creature's force, sending shockwaves across millions of kilometers. The creature recoiled, confused, its tendrils flailing, scanning frantically for the source of this anomaly, and the humans pressed forward, the cube guiding them, knowledge of the ancient guardians flowing through their minds. Every maneuver precise, every attack calculated, and for the first time, the shadow force hesitated. Arya's voice cut through the chaos. Now, full release. Channel everything. Humanity stands. The cube exploded with blinding light, not to destroy, but to rewrite the creature's pattern, scramble its mind, disrupt its hunting instinct, and the tendrils thrashed wildly as energy waves collided, colors unseen by human eyes flashing across the void, stars trembling in distant systems. The creature roared, a sound that shook the soul, then paused, frozen in space, its dark form flickering as if dying and rebuilding at the same time, and the humans did not stop, pouring every ounce of strategy, courage, and will into the assault, until at last, with a pulse that shook the galaxy itself, the creature's core shattered, sending a wave of light across space, breaking its tendrils, severing its energy, and for the first time in millennia, the shadow predator was defeated, its vast form unraveling, dissipating into harmless energy, leaving nothing but the echo of its roar fading slowly into silence. The humans exhaled together, staring at the aftermath, knowing that the cube had saved not only Earth but countless other systems, that bravery, cleverness, and unity had defeated a foe no one else could, and Arya whispered, "We did it. Humanity stands." The child smiled for the first time, tears in their eyes, knowing their people's legacy would survive, and Reyes looked at the cube, now quiet and dark, and said, "This is more than a weapon. It's proof that even the smallest life can face the darkest force and win." Outside the ships, stars shone brighter as if celebrating, planets untouched, galaxies waiting to live again, and humanity returned to Earth as the first species to face a darkness older than time itself and survive. Not just survive but triumph, leaving a clear message across the universe: never underestimate humans, for they do not wait, they do not bow, and they never surrender.